All right, I apologize. Good evening. It's now 6:02. I am calling this study session to order. Tonight, we will be hearing a study session on the Brundrett Building, DR 23-56. If staff would please come forward for the presentation.
Hi there, I'm Kristen. I'm a planner with the town. I haven't had the pleasure of presenting for you all before, so I just wanted to do a quick introduction. Does it go on there too? One sec.
This is all me. Okay, sorry.
What did you change from before?
Yeah, so you're good.
Does it help when I just stare at you? All right. So the case I have for discussion tonight is for the Brundrett Building. It is located on a vacant parcel southwest of Gilbert Road and Page Avenue between the existing Norwood Furniture and the Farmhouse Restaurant. The input I'm seeking tonight is just general feedback and also a discussion on landscape deviations and the use of the specific rooftop trees that they're proposing. Right. The site is approximately 0.365 acres and is zoned HVC. The proposed development is about 30,000 square feet. The site includes patios at the front of the development off Gilbert Road and also at the rear of the development off of the alley. There are raised planters that will act as buffers between the patios and their adjacent roadways. To the south of the site, you'll find a pedestrian walkway that connects Gilbert Road to the alley and is a great connection point for pedestrians to reach Water Tower Plaza. The second floor of the development includes balconies at both the front and rear of the site. The front balcony will encroach into the right-of-way, and parking is proposed off-site as well as a refuse container with compactor that will be located in the Norwood parking lot near the railroad tracks. All right, so seen here, I have the 3 different levels of the landscaping that they're proposing. The ground floor landscaping includes Huntington carpet, rosemary, and yellow dot within raised planter walls at the front and rear of the site. The second floor landscaping is located on the front and rear balconies, and you'll find Texas mountain laurel and Sierra sun trees, as well as a variety of shrubs and ground cover, such as creeping myoporum, hopefully I announced that correctly, gold lantana, bougainvillea, and green carpet natal plum. The rooftop landscaping includes Indian laurel and Joan Leonetti live oak trees, as well as a variety of ground cover and shrubs that have already been mentioned. All right, the applicant is proposing a handful of landscape options that are not part of the Heritage District landscaping palette seen on the slide here. The proposed tree additions are the Sierra sun tree, which grows to a maximum height of about 12 to 15 feet tall. The Joan Leonetti live oak grows to a maximum height of about 20 to 30 feet tall. And the Indian laurel can grow to be as tall as about 50 to 60 feet. The applicant is also proposing additional ground cover options, including the green carpet natal plum and creeping myoporum that I mentioned earlier. We do have concerns with the choice of the Indian laurel tree being utilized on the rooftop because they can grow to be as tall as 50 to 60 feet. With the height of the building already being 55 feet, it's just a lot of height. All right, here are the elevations. The applicant is proposing a 4-story mixed-use building. It stands at 55 feet tall. As you know, 55 feet is the maximum height allowed within the Heritage District. The applicant's proposing a rooftop mechanical enclosure that will bring the total height of that portion of the building to 60 feet. The 5-foot encroachment is permitted by the Land Development Code. The use of the ground floor is anticipated as a full-service restaurant, bar, or cafe. The second and third floors are proposed as office space, and a rooftop patio and bar is anticipated on the 4th floor. A portion of the rooftop is enclosed, which will allow the rooftop to be utilized during inclement weather as well. The primary material being used is red brick with accents of metal seam material being used on the face of the second floor and rooftop balconies. The balconies will face both Gilbert Road and the alley at the rear of the property, which will provide views of the downtown area as well as Water Tower Plaza. The rooftop enclosure will be a shadow box glazed glass with an aluminum mechanical screening placed on top. On the ground floor, you'll also find a pedestrian connection from Gilbert Road to the alley at the rear of the site, which will be hardscaped with a stamped concrete. Above the walkway, the applicant has proposed festival lighting to be strung from the proposed building towards the existing Norwood building. There are glass doors and windows on the southern elevation of the building which face the walkway, creating an open and inviting pedestrian environment. The applicant is also proposing murals along the southern wall where there are no windows or doors. All right, here are just some additional renderings. All right, and here is the colors and materials board to get a better idea of what they're proposing. Yeah, sure. Let me know when you're ready. All right, and here I've placed the 4 floor plans. On the top left is the floor plan anticipated for restaurant use. The bottom left and top right are the floor plans for the proposed office space. And the bottom right is the floor plan for the proposed rooftop patio and bar area. Did you move? No. And then just as a refresher, the input I'm seeking tonight is general feedback, discussion on the landscape choices, and the rooftop trees. And I'm available for any questions that you have.
Thank you, Kristen. As this is a study session, it does not require a vote. However, this is the time for you all as commissioners to provide feedback for the project and ask questions to staff. Commissioner Updike, do you have any questions or thoughts?
Did I press the right button? I did? Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Nice to meet you. So I do have some concerns with the 50 to 60 foot tree height at the roof. That is quite a drastic scale from the adjacent building. So scale-wise, you're talking 50 to 60 feet. Is that at the 41'8"? Is that where they would be located? What plane are those? The 40
Chair, Commissioner, yes, that's correct. It would be at the 41-foot.
41 foot.
Yeah.
And do you know the height to the top of the parapet for the adjacent buildings? Out
I
of
do
curiosity.
not.
Okay. Can you go back to the renderings?
Mm-hmm.
Are those fairly accurate for the scale for the adjacent buildings?
So the adjacent buildings are single story, and this one is 4 stories. I would have to look into how tall the adjacent buildings are.
How are those maintained?
The landscaping?
Rooftop trees?
I might defer that question to my applicant, who I believe is not here. Okay, never mind. No. Would you like to answer?
The rooftop trees, yeah, specifically.
You want to? So the answer is captured. Thank you.
Is it on now? Okay. Well, I think that we're really not leaning towards the ficus. We'd like to go with the olive, I think, the olive tree. 50, 60 feet, pretty, that's too tall. I agree with that.
Okay.
And so,
Yeah, there was just a couple of things. These trees are going in a box. And so that's going to restrict, because the roots are going to be restricted on how high the tree can actually grow.
Okay.
Right now, we have proposed the Indian laurel and we have the live oak. But like I said, the images that were showed earlier about the heights, those are an ideal situation and when the roots can, expand all they want to. And so we're mindful of the height and the concern with the height of the trees, and it's something that we're working with our landscape architect, and he's aware of, and that we're not going to, have a humongous tree on top of our building. Just structurally, it would not work. So we're very mindful of that. To answer the question for the neighborhood buildings and the perspectives, yes, those heights are fairly accurate on what you're seeing.
Okay.
I actually put together a rendering there and superimposed existing buildings and the point of view and everything. So to answer that question.
and the landscape architect had an option on those trees on the roof, ficus or olive. And I'm leaning towards olive. I don't think those get that high. We don't want them too high anyway.
Okay.
Okay?
Those are my general comments so far, but maybe with the discussion. Thank you.
Commissioner Baugh?
Red is talk, right? Yes. Okay, good. First of all, I love the building. I'm not really a fan of the name. I do love the building, though. Some things I really like. When I saw the plan, I can see the pedestrian pathway on the south side. I was worried about the interaction of the building next to that is not just a tunnel, but looks like you've added glazing on the south side of the building with your doors and your windows, which I think create more of a transparent open fill. It sounds like you're going to, I think, add a particular type of ambient lighting in that area to kind of make it safe and more appropriate. I like that design a lot. I love the way that the balcony overhangs create shade opportunities on both sides of the building and create activity, I think, within the ground level uses. Some questions I have. On the rooftop, how is it enclosed during inclement weather? Maybe I should ask you, sorry. How is the rooftop closed during inclement weather?
That's okay. Chair, Commissioner Baugh. So the top enclosure takes up about it's a third, 2/3 of the building rooftop, and it is glass, like a sun-glazed glass enclosure. So the exterior of that building is not closed, but it does give people the opportunity to utilize that portion of the enclosed structure to still be on the rooftop and get the views of downtown.
Okay. Another question I have are the north side of the building has no windows. And I recognize it's at a 0-foot lot line next to a single-story building. And typically I see staff want to add some type of breakup of massing of lengths and things like that. So it looks to me, which I think the the bottom left corner is the north elevation. So in lieu of doing windows, it appears as if you've broken up that massing through the, give me the architectural term. Yeah, I mean, you can see the rhythm of the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different kind of wall plane reliefs. Yeah. So I appreciate that because I don't know, my assumption is the floor plan on the north side is sort of the back of house, so you wouldn't necessarily have a need for windows on that side. Did you guys look at that as a staff consideration, adding some type of different treatment on the north side to kind of break up the color and pattern and over there?
I had not compared the floor plan to that elevation. The recessed 6 portions that you called out earlier, we considered that as breaking up the, the horizontal articulation. But I can definitely look at the floor plan and see if there's any opportunity to put real windows there. Like you said, it is on the 0 lot line, so it's kind of that battle of, do you design it towards what exists currently? Do you design it towards what could be? So it's just a give and take.
I'm not a fan of creating fake windows just to break up something. I like what they did, so it's not just one flat
Okay.
massing side. My point is, if there was an opportunity for windows, I think that that was a good alternative option for that north side. Another question I had was related to the trees as well. As I noticed the plant palette that exists in the recommendations for the Heritage Village core, and then we come up with options that aren't within there, I kind of feel like there's probably a reason why they're suggested in there. If there's a good enough reason, I could totally be agreeable to a different type of tree planting. I share the same concern with you regarding, actually I don't have a problem with height, but height on top of an extra height seems a bit of a different question. But if it is going to be olive, then I think our landscape plan has to be totally done. Because I don't think that was an option listed in the landscape plan that's in the packet.
Chair, Commissioner, I don't know all of landscaping off the top of my head. I'm very new to the Heritage District, so I would need the plans in front of me just to compare it.
Yeah.
But
And then, lastly, I think related to that tree species, I'm just curious, is it because you want to create a larger shade canopy on the roof? Is that why you're choosing different tree plantings that are otherwise recommended in the Heritage Village core?
Yeah, to respond, let me back up just the earlier questions about the north elevation. So what we do have on the north elevation, it is a 0 lot line. So for the building code, we're not allowed to have windows. You have to get beyond like 3 or 5 feet from the lot line in order to provide windows. And then you can only have a certain percentage. But as we are at 0, we can't have any windows. And so what we've done there, as you see there at the bottom right, is we kind of mimicked what we were doing window placement and spacing on the south, but we did it with brick detailing and with metal accent. Because like you said, we're very mindful that that's going to be seen until maybe, I don't know, 100 years down the road, something else gets built there, but right now it's going to be seen, so we have to treat it respectfully. As far as the tree palette goes, it's mine. I mean, we've been working on this project since I think we started in 2019, gone through a couple different iterations of the Gilbert design guidelines. And our landscape architect was mindful of the new Gilbert guidelines with the landscaping. And I believe most of the landscaping should fit within those new guidelines.
these are the only ones that are not.
Yeah. So what Todd was mentioning as far as the rooftop, we're playing with different options. What we presented was just one of the options for the rooftop tree palette. But we did have an option where we were introducing maybe a ficus as well. The reason why we stuck with this for this DRB submittal is that we wanted something that would provide enough shade up there because it is going to get hot, especially now this time of year. And so we were looking for trees that had, a wide enough tree shading capacity. And so that's why we presented this finally. But I just want to reiterate, we are very mindful about the tree height, and we don't want, anything to happen as far as like trees blowing over or anything like that. And so we're very mindful in working with the landscape architect to restrict those heights so they're not going to be, just overwhelming.
So Optima is a project you see that residential tower product has rooftop amenities just like this with the trees. But what I don't see are big shade canopy trees. You see more of a thinner tree canopy that usually caps out, because they're also in boxes too, that caps out, a 20-foot, height. I don't know what those planting trees are, but they're ones we're familiar with. We see them all across the lake because they're thin. That might be a more appropriate height and tree for that. And I don't know what an olive is, or I don't know what type of olive you'd be considering. I don't know what the height cap, a typical kind of canopy would look like on olive, but I love the idea of trees on the top. And I think there's a tree planting that can work, because I've seen it done many, many times.
Yeah.
It's just, another thing to keep in mind is all these olive trees, you can kind of prune them and make them the size that you want to be. In a way, also these trees that we're going to have up on the rooftop, I mean, they're going to be maintained and they're going to be pruned. And so that will help restrict the height as well.
I don't know if olive is the right choice, but until I know what you're proposing, I couldn't comment.
One more time.
Just saying, until I know what alternative they're proposing, it's hard to provide a comment on it.
And a 20-foot height of a tree would bring you up to around 60 feet, which is already where your top of structure is landing with your mechanical screen wall. And I visually, I picture that line, and that feels better than knowing that the height of the landscaping could go beyond that to an extent of, obviously not the full 50 to 60 if they're staying in a boxed condition, but that unknown, I like knowing where my line is. So I like that 60-foot marrying of the landscape max and your screen wall max.
I like that too.
Yeah, well, I think we're all in agreement.
Yeah, I think, Optima is a really good example. I think they use a tray system, and I know the drainage all goes into a centralized location into the basement. It's very complex. It sounds like the system you're using is more of just a steel box that would sit on top of the roof and at the second floor balcony level.
Yeah, it'd be something like that.
How deep would the box be for the large trees on the rooftop?
It'll probably be about 3.5 feet total.
Yeah, I think I agree with Commissioner Updike and Commissioner Baugh. I think it can be done in a really, attractive and well-executed way. I think it would be outstanding to have shade cover, natural shade cover on the roof. But to their point, I think without knowing what tree it is tough, and I would encourage the landscape architect just to look at the approved trees that are allowed in the Heritage District. And perhaps a tree doesn't provide the shade that you're hoping for, but let's add another box. I mean, you could probably achieve the same amount of shade with, maybe it's not one tree, but maybe it is two trees that, grows not as high, but combined can produce similar shade. I would encourage them maybe to look just back at that approved tree list. It just makes the process easier. Commissioner Kendall, did you have any comments, or is he able to comment tonight? Yeah? Okay.
I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you, Chair. Great presentation. I like the building. I think it fits well. I think it matches other buildings in the area. My concerns lie with the building next door, not the furniture store, but the farmhouse restaurant. Is there some type of mitigation plan? Because I believe that building is Adobe. So how is it going to be secured in the sense of it won't fall down?
Chair, Commissioner, I don't have an answer for that one either.
Okay.
Please call you back up.
Okay, so this is another point that's been brought up in past hearings that we've had, and we're very mindful of our neighbor's building, and obviously we don't want anything to happen to it from lots of different standpoints. We did set the building off the property line 1 foot to allow a little bit more clearance from whatever footings they have underneath that Adobe building. Also, when we go further in the design process and working more with our consultants, especially our structural engineer, There's different footings that we can employ, like cantilevers footings, or if we do caissons, those type of things, have a cantilever off. That's not, we want to have like a stem wall right up against the property line in order to not undermine those footings of the existing building.
Sure. Do we have an anticipated start date? It seems that with the water tower project that's directly behind, you've got Burger King Square or North Downtown, and then the South Anchor coming in. Seems like it's going to be pretty busy in a very small amount of space. Is there any plans for traffic? What are we doing with waste, work hours, those types of things?
So currently, like I said, we're in the very early stages, but we sent the project out to a couple of GCs to bid. The time frame of construction varies between, say, 10 and 15 months. Even the start of construction would be next year, early next year, probably. As far as vehicular traffic and things like that, as far as refuse collection and everything, I believe there's if you turn to a site plan, we outlined where we would have a little bit further up towards the beginning of the presentation. There was a site plan that had a bunch of arrows on it.
From your documents that you submitted to me?
Huh?
It's not part of the presentation.
Okay. Well, I have it printed out, but there's a site plan with a bunch of arrows. Basically, they're in the parking lot of Norwood to the west, the southwest. We designate an area for a large compactor. And basically, we would be shuttling any type of trash or refuse in an enclosed cart, to keep the smells down, around to that trash compactor. So that's how we would, we were thinking of organizing the trash pickup. And that would cut down, you wouldn't have to have a big dump truck going down that alley or anything like that.
So with the occupancy, at least the expected occupancy of like a restaurant or establishment like that, which will have waste going out several times a day, that would be the plan, is to take it across that alley?
Yeah, the plan is that we wouldn't have any waste stored outside by the building, obviously, because that's going to collect smells. Like whenever the waste pickup, they would take the cart and they would wheel it around to the southwest there at the Norwood parking lot.
Okay. Thank you, Chair.
Okay.
Anybody else?
I think with regard to waste, I don't think that's an unusual thing in the Heritage District, where we have tight spaces and that type of location sometimes has to work.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for putting this entire presentation together. Staff, Kristen, thank you. I do think it's a beautiful project. What is the material, the black material on the front? Or that dark charcoal material?
I can answer that one.
Yeah, okay.
Chairman, it is a black metal seam.
Beautiful.
On the materials board, it says black metal seam roofing, but it's a seam material.
Will you allow it to oxidize, or will it be a finished product so that it is not?
I thought I had it, I'm sorry.
What we've listed as the product there is a zinc product. It's
Okay.
a very fine
So it's
product.
coated.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's a standing seam metal wall panel, but they call it also a roofing panel, but it can go horizontally or vertically.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. Yeah, overall, I think the project is beautiful. Be a great addition. If no more commissioners have any thoughts, time is now 6:32, and we will now recess study session and convene the regular meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Could staff please take roll call? Or, yeah, can we take roll call? Yeah.
Pardon me, Chairman. Okay, Chairman Clausen,
Here?
Vice Chair Kendall,
Here.
Commissioner Baugh,
Here.
Commissioner Bigelow, Commissioner Updike.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Amanda. At this time, members of the public may comment on matters not on the agenda. The commission's response is limited to responding to criticism, asking staff to review a matter commented upon, or asking that a matter be put on future agenda. Are there any communications from citizens at this time?
Mr. Chairman, we have no requests from citizens at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move into administrative item number 2, considering approval of the minutes for the regular meeting held on April 19th, 2023. Are there any edits the commission wishes to make? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes for April 19, 2023?
I move to approve the minutes from April 19th, 2023.
And a second?
A second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. If the commissioners would please vote. And Commissioner Baugh was not in attendance. Should he vote?
How many times do I push the screen button?
Mr. Chairman, considering that, can we do a roll call vote, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kendall?
Here. Or yes.
Commissioner Updike?
Approve.
Commissioner Baugh?
Aye.
And I vote yes to pass the meeting minutes for April 19th, 2023. Motion has passed. Are there any communications from our council liaison, Councilmember Torgerson?
Put that on. What do you say of that? All right, the town of Gilbert recently partnered with Arizona-based muralists to create an illustrative original art on 3 prominent traffic signal cabinets facing Gilbert Road in Gilbert's Heritage District. The artwork's located on the southeast corner of Gilbert Road in Juniper, the southwest corner of Gilbert Road in the canal facing Barrio Queen, and the southwest corner of Gilbert Road in Elliott Road. On Tuesday, August 8th, there'll be a Heritage District meetup at Norwood's. If I think I can see them without my glasses. What do you think of that? And it will be at 3:30 p.m. and it'll be hosted by the town and the chamber. And the last one, I think most of you were at, they've actually proven to be quite well attended, and it's been rather successful. It'll include a brief update from the town staff and related departments regarding activities in the Heritage District, and details are available on the chamber site at gilbertaz.com. If you're a business owner with questions about transaction taxes, the Arizona Department of Revenue will be hosting 2 business sales tax workshops on the 2nd. More information on the town website and event calendar. And finally, Gilbert will be hosting a blood drive with Vitalant on Tuesday, August 8th at the Southeast Regional Library in the Shakespeare Assembly Room. You can register using the code Gilbert at donors.vitalant.org or by calling 877-25-VITAL. And I believe that would be all they've handed me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Torgerson. Commissioners, does anybody else have any updates that you would like to share? Amanda, is there a report from staff?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I wanted to congratulate Sydney on her 5-year anniversary with the town and 2 years imparting all of her wisdom and talent in the Heritage District, so we're really thankful for her. And then also, I just wanted to note a small note from the clerk that there are 2 new policies, the Ethics Handbook and the Code of Conduct, that'll take in effect on 8/21/2023, and these do apply to boards and commission members, and the clerk's office sent those documents to all of you at the end of June. So be sure to read them, complete your annual training, and sign the acknowledgement as soon as possible if you have not done that. And of course, if you need them to be resent, just let us know, and we'll get those on over to you. And the clerk will also be updating the board and commission's handbook soon, so keep your eyes out for that, and we'll make sure you get those. And with that, Mr. Chairman, that is my report for this evening.
Excellent. Thank you, Amanda. Yeah, Sydney, 5 years. Congrats. Thanks for all that you do. With that, it's 6:38. Meeting is adjourned.